welcome back to Road Life with Ruby. My name is Elle, and this is Ruby, my 2014 Subaru Forester. So I know it's early June now, but I wanted to talk about May because May was a milestone for me and for Ruby. Not only was it our 1 year of being on the road together, it's also my 1 year anniversary of not paying rent. I've made it a whole year without paying rent, which feels awesome, and I want to talk a little bit more about that today. May 1st, 2021, I made my final rent payment on my Cap Hill apartment in Denver. It was like $850 something, which is honestly on the cheaper side for Denver, and it's been incredible to have that weight lifted off of me for the last year, and I want to do it for as long as possible. So I'm going to talk to you about what it's been like and how I plan to continue not paying rent for as long as I can. Plus, I'll throw in some pretty landscape shots of Alaska, where I'm at right now. I'm currently in Denali National Park, staring at Denali. I'll throw a clip in right here. So I'll throw in some nice landscape shots you can check out so you don't have to just stare at my face the whole time. Alright, let's get into it. So, when I first left Denver, I had about $2,000 in savings, no plan whatsoever, and a ton of debt and bills that I had to keep paying. That meant I had to be pretty careful about budgeting for bills that were on auto pay, plus my gas and food. But otherwise, in that time, my expenses were pretty low. That's kind of one of the nice things about road life to me, is that it is relatively easy, mosquitoes, it's relatively easy to keep your expenses down if you're just kind of careful about where you're choosing to stay, what you're choosing to eat, not spending money on unnecessary stuff, which is also easier when you live in a car because there's not room for unnecessary stuff. So I managed to last 3 full months on the road without having any sort of income. I was running through my savings and just living cheap, and it was going really awesome. I found myself in Glacier National Park and met some folks there who were working at the lodge in St. Mary, and everybody was complaining about how short-staffed they were. And I didn't necessarily feel like I needed a job at the time, but it was kind of that spontaneous, like, oh, I could live in Glacier for 5 weeks, make some money, make some friends, do a bunch of hiking, I'm gonna be here anyway. And I decided to just go for it. I interviewed the next morning, was hired on the spot, given a room and, 2 meals a day. So yeah, it was a pretty good setup. The job was far from glamorous, but it helped me kind of rebuild back some of my savings a little bit. So this was my first taste of seasonal life, and it changed me forever. That's why I have this little tattoo right here, SMV, St. Mary Village. I also tattooed it on 8 other people. But anyway, it's a very significant thing for me because I was miserable in a lot of ways, and I won't get too much into that, but basically just like figuring out that this kind of life is possible. SMV is where it happened for me, so I just want to remember that as kind of like, going out there, living your life, pursuing the dreams, all that good stuff. So the season in Glacier National Park ended late September, early October, and I hit the road with a few friends that were caravanning, and we did some camping in Montana, and then a few of us went down into Yellowstone, Tetons, saw a lot of amazing things. We were able to take our time, all the fall colors were turning. It was really great. I went through Colorado, kind of caught up with some family and friends, did some like storage unit, trading out some gear and all of that. And then I landed in Arizona. So I knew that I wanted to be somewhere warm for the winter season. And even though I didn't have a plan, I knew how desperate most places were to get workers, and I was confident that I would figure it out. It wasn't until November that I started working again, so I had a solid month or two to just camp, hike, explore northern Arizona, had a really good time doing that. And then I landed a job in Sedona for a little bit. It wasn't a super great match, but it gave me something to do for a little while, and it was fun to be living out of my car in Sedona and getting to explore the trails at a bit of a quieter time of year. So that was really cool. So at the end of December, I had a better opportunity present itself, and I decided to go ahead and move down to the ranch, which was right outside of Tucson, Arizona. And again, I was living in a furnished room for free. All of my meals were covered, and the wage was okay. The wage itself was but the bonus at the end was really helpful. The job wasn't very glamorous, but all my needs were met. The ranch had an extensive network of trails that I got to explore right out of my door every day. It was warm and beautiful, which is what I was looking for, and I made some really incredible friends and connections that I think will definitely last a lifetime, and I'm really grateful for that. And I was able to save up some money and continue paying off some debt, and then the end of season bonus, which is very common among seasonal jobs to do a bonus to try to get you to stay for the whole season, that really helped me out with my next trip, Alaska. So this is one of those places that I used to dream about, and I'd seen pictures of and heard about, but it felt so far off, not just geographically, but far off in the sense that I thought, maybe when I'm retired, or if something happens one day and I somehow make considerably more money than I do now, maybe one day. I never thought that in my 20s I would be moving up to Alaska. So I'm really stoked to be here, and specifically I always thought it'd be really cool to drive here. It just seems like a really big feat to take on, driving across the whole country, and especially coming from southern Arizona. I was basically 20 miles from the US-Mexico border. So to go from there, and I clocked in at about 4,800 miles later through Canada, all of that into Alaska was an incredible journey, and I'm so glad I got to do it. And now here I am, seasonal job number 3, I guess. And I have a cute little cabin that I share with one person. We've got a kitchenette in there. Again, furnished room, 2-ish meals a day. It honestly, I barely bought any food since I've been here. And the pay is really, really good up here. So I don't know if I just got lucky. What I've heard is that Alaska pays pretty well. I think it's hard to get people to come all the way out here for jobs, and a lot of places are hiring all the time. So just keep that in mind if you're interested in Alaska. I think you can definitely find something. I kind of started throwing the idea out to some friends and family, almost in a half-joking way, oh, maybe I'll drive to Alaska next summer. And then the more that I said it, the more it was just kind of in the back of my head all the time, and the more and more I just felt like, I really want to do this, and why not, What's holding me back? So I did some research on Coolworks, my favorite seasonal job website. Check it out. And I came across this little lodge right outside of Denali National Park. It sounded like a really good fit, and so I threw an application out. It's the only place that I applied to. And they interviewed me a couple weeks later, and it went really well, and I decided to take the job. And that was a little bit hard for me, honestly, because that was in January, and I didn't start until the end of May. And for me, being in this lifestyle, one of the things that I love is the not planning. So I took the plunge, decided to commit to coming to Alaska because it felt right, and I'm so glad that I did. Being here in Denali is incredible. As you can see, it's beautiful. There's so much wildlife, and yeah, it's going good so far. The ranch in Tucson, their season ended on May 1st, and then my season in Alaska started on May 22nd. So I had a solid few weeks to make the drive up. Yeah, almost 5,000 miles that I did, because I went out to California, went up the coast, which was really beautiful. I got to see a lot of stuff that I've never seen before. And it was really nice to have the security of that bonus from my last job to carry me over to this one. So now here I am, getting settled into Alaska at one of the highest paying jobs that I've ever had. And with my room and meals covered by my employer yet again. I have 2 days off each week to go out and explore, go camping, anything that I want to do in this beautiful place that I'm in. And on the horizon is just more of that. I'm hoping to go international next. I will keep you guys updated on how all of that goes. If not, I probably will land in Arizona for the winter again. Just because I have some connections down there. I think it'd be easy for me to find a good job, and I like being warm in the winter time. I can't express what a difference it's made to not have a rent payment or a mortgage or anything else like that hanging over my head every month. Of course, this lifestyle is not suited to everyone, and there are times of stress and challenges, but I wouldn't have it any other way. And I want you to know that if you want to travel the world, if you've been dreaming of taking a big step into something like this, that I'm here to encourage you to do it. It is possible. You don't have to have a bunch of money. If you're willing to work, there are so many jobs out there in national parks and other incredible places that you can explore. Thanks so much for watching. If you have any questions, please let me know. I'm an open book, and seasonal work has changed my life, so I'm always stoked to talk about it with other people. Thanks, and I'll see you next time.